Chris Allingham with the Virtual Weber Bullet. I'm back for a September Q&A session. It's been 2 months since I've done one, and today is the second day of fall, so happy fall to you. Still plenty of time for us to get out there and barbecue. There's still lots of nice weather ahead, but I do have that sinking feeling that the year is winding down. We're heading into the holiday season and end of the year, and we're going to flip the odometer on a new year 2020, so time is moving quickly. So let's get to the questions. I have 10 questions here today from readers of the Virtual Weber Bullet, from people on the discussion forum, from social media channels, and I got those right here, and we'll go through those. Real quick though, before I start, I do want to mention this t-shirt that I'm wearing. I wore it at a barbecue contest last weekend, and I had some nice compliments about it. This is the multicolor Weber Smokey Mountain t-shirt that I designed a few years ago, quite a few years ago actually. Kind of an homage to Andy Warhol, I think. It is available for sale. You can get it at represent.com. We'll put the link up on the screen and also in the description of the video. It sells for $22.99 plus tax and a little bit of shipping. So if you're interested, check it out and get one for yourself. It comes in 15 colors and in sizes from small all the way up to 5XL. So we got a shirt for everybody. Let's get to the questions. Question number 1. I watched your new smoked cheese video. Thanks for doing that. I noticed in the video that you had trouble lighting the pellets with your propane torch. Any tips for solving that problem? Well, yes, so shortly after I published that video, I got an email from a bulletin board member named Tom B, and he writes saying, I keep a 5 to 6 inch block of 2x4, and I lean the smoke tube up against it at an angle so I don't have to turn the torch upside down to light the tube. So that's Tom's solution. I think I might give that a try next time, or I might maybe try leaning the pellet tube up against maybe my chimney starter or something like that. The issue I had was that the tube was straight up and down, and I had to turn my torch upside down to try to light it, and the torch was going out. So I either need to hold that tube at an angle or I need to prop it up against something at an angle. Question number 2 is also related to that cheese video. Should I turn or rotate the cheese at some point in the smoking process? I didn't do that when I did it. I smoked it for 2 hours in just the order and the orientation in which I placed it on the cooking grate, but you can, and I have read some articles that do suggest that it's helpful to turn the cheese, flip it over and end for end halfway through the smoking process. So next time I think I might do that at the 1 hour mark. Just flip those blocks over and end for end to get a more even application of smoke on the cheese. And a third and final question about smoked cheese. Do you have a brand preference for pellets? I use pellets when I smoke the cheese in that video, and I use pellets from Amazon. They're the guys that make one of those pellet tubes as well as the little racetrack tray. Amazon pellets are 100% flavor wood, and that's what I'd recommend that you get. Some kind of a pellet that is 100% of whatever the flavor they say on the package. Barbecuer's Delight also makes a flavor pellet like that in the small package. I think it's 1 or 2 pounds. It's all apple or all hickory or all pecan. Whatever it says on the label, that's what it is. There are many other types of pellets that are really considered like grilling pellets, they might call them. And they may consist of 60 or 70% of oak or some other base wood for consistent heat, and then there's a flavor sawdust added to that, makes up the remainder of the pellet. But they'll put apple on the bag, but the apple might only be 20 or 30% of what's in there. So for the kind of small scale smoking that I'm doing in the Smokey Mountain Cooker with cheese, I think you would like to use a flavor pellet that is 100% the flavor of the wood that you're trying to impart to the food. Question number 4. How many bones are in a full slab of baby back ribs? I seem to get different bone counts depending upon whether I buy ribs at the supermarket, the warehouse store, or I get them in a restaurant. Well, depending upon the breed of pig, a pig will have 15 or 16 ribs. When they slaughter the pig and they break it down into its primal cuts, you have the shoulder and the loin. about 2 of those bones end up staying in the shoulder portion and the remainder are left in the loin. When they take the pork loin off, separate it from the bone, they may even cut off a couple of straggling bones depending upon the butcher's preference. So a full slab of ribs at retail is considered to be anywhere in the range of 10 to 13 ribs. Anything less than 10 is sometimes called a cheater rack. You've been cheated. You should expect at least 10 bones though in a full slab of baby back ribs. Sometimes if you buy them at Costco, I have found 14 bones on a whole slab of baby back ribs. So the answer is, official answer, 10 to 13, but you may get as many as 14. Question 5, sort of related to the previous question, spare ribs or baby back ribs? I guess asking my preference. Well, my preference is, honestly, I prefer baby back ribs. I know the spare ribs are bigger and meatier, but there's just something about baby back ribs that I like. Those are the first ribs that I made when I first started out. I just have an affinity for them, and they cook a little faster. There's a little bit less meat on them, but I do like the taste, and they're just my favorite. So for me, it's baby back ribs. Okay, question number 6. This is like a softball lobbed across home plate for me. Do you know if there's a reason why the lid for Weber Smokey Mountain Cookers does not overhang the middle section like on Weber kettle grills? If you know the answer to this question, you can just fast forward here for about a minute. Does this design have some specific function? Obviously, the problem that arises is that the lid allows rain to enter the cooker, which can impact performance and create a real mess at the bottom of the bowl. Just curious why Weber has not addressed this issue. Well, the reason is that the Smokey Mountain Cooker is a water smoker by design and by intent. And that water pan is filled with water, and that water evaporates as the food cooks, creating a lot of moisture inside the cooker. As that moisture rises up toward the lid and toward the exhaust vent, it does tend to condense on the inside of the lid, and it runs down the lid. If that lid overhung the middle cooking section of the smoker, that condensation would then exit the cooker at the lid, and it would roll down the outside of the cooker and onto your deck or patio and make a real mess. So Weber made the lid fit inside the middle cooking section so that condensation stays inside the cooker, and it rolls down the lid, then it rolls down the middle cooking section, and it will either roll down into your charcoal bowl if there's enough of it, or as it gets down toward the fire, it is evaporated yet again and makes an attempt to escape the cooker one more time out through the exhaust vent. So that is why the lid does not overhang the middle cooking section. Now, in terms of rain, you need to get your cooker out of the rain. The cover that comes with the cooker is not waterproof. You can attempt to use seam sealer, which is the stuff you put on seams of a tent, camping tent, to try to seal those up. But it's much easier to just move your cooker out of the rain if possible, or to cover your cooker with a very large contractor size plastic garbage bag. That's not very sexy, but it does a great job, and it's super cheap. Or get yourself a tarp at the hardware store and lay that tarp on top of the stock cover, and maybe wrap a bungee around it so it doesn't blow away. My preferred approach, though, is for you to bring that cooker under a covered patio, under an awning, or into your garage or shed or some other place where it will not be in the direct rain, and therefore you will keep water out of the cooker. Moving right along, question number 7. I want to try hanging ribs in the Smokey Mountain Cooker. I know Weber no longer makes a rack system. Can you recommend one from another supplier? Well, the two that come to mind are Hunsaker, they make one, and Gateway, they make one. These are both initially intended for drum smokers, but they will fit and work inside a Smokey Mountain Cooker. The Hunsaker version is a round rack that also then has a sort of a, I was going to say triangular, I guess that's still the right way to put it, a 3-sided insert that goes in the center of the circle. So you can hang ribs in a circular orientation. You could also hang them out on the triangular piece toward the middle of the cooker if you want to. I should mention the Hunsaker is an advertiser with the Virtual Weber Bulletin Board and the Virtual Weber Bulletin website. They do support what we're doing here, so I thank them very much for that, and Just want to disclose that advertising relationship they have with me, but also to encourage you to consider doing business with them because they are a fine company. Another alternative, the Gateway, also has a round ring at the bottom, but then it has sort of two parallel kind of a bridge that goes across the top from which you hang the hooks and hang the meat. So a little different design. The Hunsaker looks like it maybe would hold more meat. The Gateway design looks like it actually sort of keeps the meat more toward the center of the cooker. Those are both workable options. I know people that use both. I have heard people tell me that one works better than the other, so obviously it just depends on what you're looking for. And apparently both work just fine depending upon what you're cooking in your particular circumstances. Question number 8. I know you're a barbecue judge. Are you seeing any interesting trends in turn-in boxes? Well, I hesitate to answer that question. In fact, I am not going to answer it directly because we are told at every contest that what happens in the tent, the judge's tent, stays in the tent. We're not to talk about what we see in the turn-in boxes and how things are scored. What I will tell you though is you're probably familiar, if you're a competitor, you're probably familiar with that Facebook group. It's called Barbecue Turn-In Box Critique. And I'd suggest that you go out to that Facebook group and check out what's there. And the only clue I would give you is just look at what's happening with chicken. And if you pay attention to some of those turn-in boxes, you may see a lot of things that look very familiar to you. I don't think it's any secret for me to tell you that we get a lot of chicken thighs in boxes. You can walk around any contest and see teams preparing lots of chicken thighs. But I suggest you look at those examples of turn-in boxes and look for anything unusual and see what you think about those things. Question number 9. I saw that you cooked with the new ThermoWorks Billows barbecue temperature control fan. Will you be doing a review soon? Yes, I hope to do that soon. I have cooked with it once when I made pork butt. It worked great. I mentioned in a Facebook video that I had a few little setup issues. I'll put the link for that up here on the screen as well as in the description of the video. You can check it out. But I want to get another cook under my belt, a long cook. I have not done another long cook recently. I'd like to do another long cook with Billows and get at least 2 instances under my belt before I do a video review and a written review. So I hope to do that very soon. And last but not least, question number 10. I saw your bulletin board post in which you broke some of the details about the new Weber Smoke Fire pellet grills coming out in 2020. What, if any, impact do you see these new grills having on the Smokey Mountain Cooker? Well, in case you are not aware, in 2020, Weber will be coming out with 2 brand new pellet grills that are designed to compete with Traeger pellet grills. There's a 24-inch model that is said to sell for $9.99 and a 36-inch model that is supposed to sell for $11.99. Pellet grills are a very popular segment of the grilling market today. They are, I think, the fastest growing segment. Traeger controls, I believe, 70% of that market, maybe more. So it's understandable why Weber might want to go after some of that business. And Weber has a long tradition of innovating, and I think they are looking at that space of pellet grills and looking at areas in which they can bring their own unique value add and also try to solve problems that maybe other companies have not solved in the design of these brand new pellet grills. In terms of how they're going to affect Smokey Mountain Cooker, I don't see a ton of impact in the sense that they are going to occupy 2 very different price points. Smokey Mountain Cooker, the 18-inch is list priced at $329, and the 22-inch is above $400, but that is still less than half the price of either of these 2 pellet grills. The pellet grills are probably a little bit higher end and are probably going to appeal to a different kind of a person. I have a very good friend of mine who you would have thought I could have convinced him to buy a Smokey Mountain Cooker, but he bought a Traeger because he's got a very busy family life and he really appreciates the set it and forget it nature of a pellet grill. For those of us who like to play with our fire, Smoky Mountain Cooker is going to be more appealing, I think. For those that are in competition barbecue, you know, Smoky Mountain Cooker represents an affordable, easy way for you to get into competition barbecue with a very high quality cooker, and it's at an affordable price, and it has other advantages, like you can break it down into 3 pieces and you can easily throw it in the back of your van or pickup truck or even your sedan. Easily transported, lightweight, comes apart, easy to clean. If you break something, the replacement parts are very affordable and easy to acquire. Smoky Mountain Cooker just offers a lot of advantages in terms of its price, its size, its portability, and its effectiveness that, you know, are going to be much more expensive and complicated in a pellet grill. So I think they may stake out 2 different segments, 2 different types of customers. It may cut in a little bit to some of the business of Smoky Mountain Cooker. I've seen a few people online who are saying, well, I might ditch my Smoky Mountain Cooker in lieu of a pellet grill. That may happen a bit, but you know, only time will tell how it really impacts it. But I have a sense that there's room for both these grills in Weber's lineup, and I hope that both of them will thrive as siblings rather than one cannibalizing the other. Well, that concludes this Q&A for September. I'll be back in November with another 10 questions. I appreciate you watching very much. I would ask that you please like and subscribe to my videos. It helps other people find them. And until next time, take care, everybody.